We do have a race this weekend, though. We had the Miami Grand Prix, and I wanted to hop into a couple of storylines. Can Lando Norris run it back, or will Oscar Piastri play spoiler? We've got another weekend of the McLaren drivers going head to head. But I did want to actually bring something into. I got you a little something, Kevin. I was thinking about you this week, and honestly, I got you something. I just wanted to hand this to you in front of our. Yeah.
It's the chrome one.
It is the chrome one
from last year.
Yes.
The MCL 60.
It is
from
pretty
the
sick.
British Grand Prix.
Something fun to think of before we dive into this. Last week, I made him a little upsetty spaghetti. He even dropped an F-bomb on the podcast. So I wanted to, gesture of goodwill. It's all just in fun.
I'll try to.
But yeah, these things are pretty sick.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I mean, Barago doesn't sponsor the podcast or anything, but they do make a hell of a. Unless
you want to.
They do make a hell of an F1 car. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
gonna
lie.
All open for sponsorships here.
100%. But look, as we walk into this Grand Prix weekend, the battle between the two McLaren drivers.
That's all I'm here for. So I'm gonna go ahead.
The battle between the two McLaren drivers is going to remain an ongoing theme this season, and it's continuing in South Beach, in Miami, around Hard Rock Stadium. And this weekend, I think it's a kind of a clashing opportunity. Lando Norris got his first win of his Formula One career here last year.
This time last year was a big day for me because I remember I was working here. I was doing some kind of show or whatever, and I was watching the race, and I just remembered that moment where Lando won, and it was just, for me, it was like all the pressure that he felt. I mean, definitely it was weight off his shoulders, but it was weight off mine too, right? Because I sit here and I clamor for Lando Norris and his championship aspirations and all those things, and I'm sure we're about to get into that. But even just back then, when I was like, look, Lando's a championship level driver, but has no wins, and so it's kind of hard to piece that argument together. But winning Miami, no matter how it was done, was not only a massive turning point for the season as a whole, but it was just a big day for McLaren fans all around. You got to remember,
I think it was a big day for Formula One overall.
Before that moment, McLaren had done no winning, right? Yeah. Like it had been a long time. And like you said, it was a big moment for F1 because it was like, whoa, Max didn't win. And Red Bull didn't dominate the weekend. So that was a big weekend. It was a big moment. So I definitely remember the Miami Grand Prix will always hold a special place in my heart for that.
Look,
reason.
I think Formula One fans across the board were fond of that moment, right? Seeing Lando finally get that win, even under like the circumstances were a little bit wonky at the time, but like we got to see that McLaren were for real. Like they made good decisions that led them into the final, finally taking the top step for the first time since a win in Monza with Daniel Ricciardo. And it was a huge moment, but as we walk back in, the question really is going to be, can Lando Norris run it back? Can he do what he did last year, this time a little bit more prominently? The car is better this year, right? These are the questions we're going to be asking of Lando Norris, especially as he tries to make up for what could very well have gone his way in Saudi Arabia, a potential race win going the other way of his teammate. And Norris currently sits 10 points behind Piastri, so there's actual gravity when it comes to the championship. Could he pull together a strong weekend, either tighten that gap or completely leapfrog back over Oscar Piastri? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a really hard weekend to do it. One, you look back last year, Oscar Piastri had the fastest lap. Oscar had also like I just said, that McLaren car hit a turning point this time last year, and so did Oscar as well. He just didn't get the race win, but this time last year, coming out of Miami, I should say, Oscar had the fastest lap of the race. So it's not like Oscar is just going to play second fiddle to Lando and let him win Miami for the second year in a row. And let's be clear, neither is Max, right? Yeah. Like Max
is a two-time winner here. We're going to talk about more of the history of Miami a little bit later coming up.
Yeah, but so I say all that to say that it's going to be really rough for Lando to do it. It's not like, oh, this is Lando's. I don't feel as though this is Lando's race to win. I think this is Lando's race to compete And I do believe that he needs to walk away with a win.
This to me,
but Oscar can poise a big time fight in Miami. Like this could literally be a McLaren 1-2 where they're literally battling each other.
I think for Lando, this is a huge prove-it opportunity because you've won here in the past. Like this is supposed to be, if you're Lando Norris anyway, with that precedent being set from last year. Hey, like I can do it here. I know that I can do it here. That takes a little bit of the weight off. Right?
Or you know, for those out there that want to say that it was a fluke win,
yeah,
he didn't deserve it. Well, then he can come out here and be like, "Well,
yeah, go take it. Go take it for yourself.
That this is my win, and I'm going to do it again."
But it also backs people off like myself, right? Like last week, we got into it pretty heavily. My stance on Lando Norris, and I still do feel this way, that he is not a championship level driver and within his own team at the moment.
Right,
super talented, but it feels like an Oscar kind of season right now, and this could be a huge moment in the season, especially early, to tell the fans, to tell the TLPs, to tell like-minded individuals like me that I'm worth it and I'm made for it. And I have that edge that you see in a Lando Norris, that I am a championship level driver. And this is a moment for him to prove doubters wrong. And this is, again, a destination where he's won before. He knows he can do it here. I'm really curious to see what kind of form that Lando is going to bring. I really am.
No, and last thing, this would also be a really good chance for him to kind of like shake it off his shoulders a little bit. He had a really bad stretch, a really bad 3-week stretch that, you know, Oscar dominated. And we talked about that last week. And this is kind of an opportunity for Lando. And I know I saw.
Well, you could argue 4-week, really, because he hasn't won since Australia.
Exactly. So, and I also saw that Lando took some time off and got away and kind of recouped himself, which is good. You need that as a driver. But I think this week is a week where Lando can kind of rebloom, reblossom, and kind of like, hey, like, you know I had a bad stretch there, but I'm still Lando effing Norris and I can still win. So
yeah, and
we'll see what happens.
And as far as his teammate across the garage in Oscar Piastri, this is the first time in his career where he's walking into a Grand Prix weekend as the World Drivers' Championship leader.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a huge gap and he's been doing this for a while. This is the first time that he's going to have this feeling of I'm the one who's being hunted. I'm the one who's got a Max Verstappen breathing down my neck. I'm the one who's got Lando Norris, my teammate, coming after what's mine, right? Or George Russell or Kimi Antonelli or Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc, right? You've got everybody. You've got 19 other drivers and you've got 9 other teams. That's entire mission is going to be making sure that you don't win. So how do you handle that pressure? Oscar so far has been a cool cucumber, right? Very collected character, but this is a different experience. This is going to be a very different experience within not just himself, but within the McLaren team. Oh, this is the turning of a bit of a tide here. Lando Norris is not our front runner as it stands. Oscar Piastri is. How does that get dictated within the team? How does that look? There's going to be a lot of questions to answer coming out of this weekend. I think there's a lot more on the line in this Grand Prix weekend than maybe a couple of us or members of the media or other people within this podcasting space may be speculating. I'm really, really excited. And we get 2 opportunities to do that this weekend, seeing what a sprint win might look like for this team, seeing what the Grand Prix feature race win might look like for this team.